Well, my sister is such a golden child. My father does everything for her. Well, I was going to hold this massive engagement party, but then my dad said, no, no, no. You can't have it on this day. We're going to celebrate your sister's promotion at work. Well, I think an engagement party ranks above a promotion, no? Anyways, I was willing to work around that, but then my father told me the most shocking thing ever. I hate my father. I hate him with all my soul, my life, my existence. Ever since Mom passed away, he has made our lives a total hell. Or at least mine. More than my sister's. See, when Mom died, Dad changed to now being an overbearing parent, who didn't mind making us cry as long as we complied with all of his demands. He works as a journalist in his own agency in the city, and he's always in the public eye, so he encourages that, quote, his family, his two little daughters, must always be well-behaved, free, and far away of any problems and scandals, because he understands what a single stain on his reputation can affect him enormously. But I'll say it once and for all. He's a very bad father and a deplorable human being, and my sister is so lucky that I don't hate her because of him, because I'm just a bald frog's hair away from not speaking to my sister because of him. And it's really all the most idiotic reason in the world, obedience. She, being the eldest, is the one who, has everything first, the well-behaved one, the example to follow, the one he tells me that I should support, unconditionally, since she is the one who will take the family further than anyone else. How can you think of telling this to your youngest daughter and not expect her to have confidence or self-esteem issues? Ugh, if only that man knew. But this time, it's the straw that broke the camel's back. Or at least for me. As it turns out, Mr. I treat my daughter equally without distinction is not going to support me with my dream's wedding. The wedding we've been talking about since I was 10 years of age. Earlier, it was a childish indulgence. But now it's serious, and it's unbelievable I've been dating Jackson for 12 years. Basically since high school. And we went through the whole turbulent college period together. My dad told me on several occasions, and I quote, if you have good grades, graduate with honors, and the boy proves to be a good man, you'll have that wedding without you guys worrying about a darn thing. Well, dear readers, do you know what it's like to live your life based on a promise having denied right in front of you? Like it was all a lie from the beginning, and it's not like I'm being denied for lack of funds or anything like that, which would be quite understandable. I'm not going to ask for anything, and I don't want you to think that I'm a spoiled brat. See, I can understand anyone's limitations, even fathers, but do you want to know the reason that my dreams were shattered? Well, you read this right. It's because my sister got a promotion at work. That's it. That's all that there is to it, and it's just a promotion at work, something that we've all had over the years, and it's not even a big deal. Said from my own sister's words is what she said to Dad, please, it's not the biggest promotion either. She's lying a bit on this. For yes, it's kind of a big deal, but enough to replace what many may turn out to be the happiest day in a woman's life? I don't think so. Now you have a super depressed, super upset person who just wants to beat a glass house to a pulp. I've talked it over with Jackson and my sister, but they both are telling me the same thing, just in different ways. He tells me that it's not necessary to have such a big wedding, and if that's true, but it's the indignation that they saw my dumb face that I can't fix it. Whereas my sister, well, she does support me more in this situation, saying that father had promised her that too. But since she doesn't even have a boyfriend and doesn't look like she wants one at the moment, then it's like he has all the money set aside to spend in the most random, unnecessary ways possible. If it were up to us, a simple celebration in his living room would be more than fine, but a celebration comparable to a wedding? Yeah, clearly this is considered favoritism, and I'm on the wrong side of the scale. So guys, I mentioned that I almost ended up hating my sister because father has always had that kind of treatment towards us. Since he had always forced us to behave, there could only be one option, or maybe two. The first was to accept that the fate be comparable to a couple of nuns, and the second was to rebel with the cause. The first is my sister and the second is me. I don't want to spend my whole life tied to someone's orders. I fell in love with Jackson precisely because of all the freedom that he's given me. And mind you, one of the conditions is that my fiancé be someone good. In Dad's eyes, and the two of them have even gone fishing together, hence I'm puzzled as to why he did this. It goes beyond just annoying me. It's like, guys, he did it on purpose. I'm sorry, I'm crying my eyes out. I don't wish this upon anyone. While everything in my life was highly positive, it was also with some hope at the end of the line. I even considered about 5 years ago not using the wedding money, but being able to invest in some business in town, which would give me more financial security in the future, but I said no, because that was exclusively for my enjoyment and something I wanted, and Jackson and I never bothered to save in that regard, as all our savings would go towards our house, our car, and being able to properly raise our first baby, which I now feel no motivation to have. Please, I hope you understand, because the last thing I want is to look like a spoiled child. Well, at least spoiled children get what they're promised. Update number 1. It's a week later. I just got back from my sister's house and my spirits are down in the dumps. I came clean with her and she did wise, but only her points cut me like daggers. I learned a lot of things about Dad that I might be better off not knowing, and it turns out that there's more reasons why he decided not to help me with the wedding. Remember I told you why I would understand the reasons if they were force maneuvers? Well, a part of it was, and that is that money that was earmarked for my wedding was spent years ago, precisely on my sister's education. You see, she wanted to take a postgraduate course in her career, but it was, expensive. So, Father told her not to worry at all because he was going to take care of it. Oh, what a surprise, Dad. Don't worry, money was the only destined for my wedding, and at the time my dad saw it as something useful, and even back then, if he had told me about it, I would not have minded. But there are a few points that make this even sadder. Dad never intended to help me with the wedding, and my sister tells me that she was talking to him years ago, during a night when he had a few too many to drink. And he had confessed to her about how he did not consider the wedding that important, and that he had told me that just a whim so that I would try twice as hard. And well, it worked. While I think life for many things, I always believed that for doing everything right you would receive a reward, but I forgot that human beings can be very cruel, and that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I just don't know if they were good in the first place. My sister apologized and told me that all her life tried to be straight and precise so that the greatest burden would fall on her, and so I could enjoy my own life without so many orders. She didn't mind that I was the rebellious one because she wanted to see me happy, and she even told me that if I waited a little while she could help me with the wedding because she could pay for it. Well, I'll be honest, at one point I was going to swallow my pride and accept the offer, but I told myself that it would not be fair because it would put a weight on the wrong shoulders. Instead, I told her to see if she could talk to Dad about it, as I didn't want to see him. She told me that she didn't want to see him either, as she was also upset with him for what he did to me, and that's how we managed to have a common enemy. However, to mention this to you, I feel that the wedding should still take place. Sure, it won't be that 5-star luxury event I've been expecting all my life, but hey, at least I can make it for a decent ceremony amongst a few of the guests. Anyways, I'll be writing you guys in a bit. I'm getting a slight headache as we talk, and I feel like if I keep writing, it's going to get a whole lot worse. I'll write tomorrow or another day to at least tell you how the new smaller wedding ended up going. Update number 2. It's been almost 60 days since the first update. Here it is. It's unbelievable. Everything that's going on would make the most dramatic movie ever. First I'll tell you about the bad lake and then more, and I don't even know how to describe it. First point. We decided to have the wedding as I mentioned in the previous post, and that is on our own. It was no longer going to be the big show of the year, but at least we could have a good time. And I would get some help from my sister for it. Actually, when we told those who were going to be our guests, mostly friends and members of Jackson's family, about the idea, they were all too excited about it. I've been dating Jackson for about 12 years, And seeing that we're finally going to seal our love, many were and are excited. We even decided not to invite Dad as a form of revenge, and I know that he could not take it badly, as he brought this upon himself, but now that leads to a negative point, and that is the date of the ceremony. It would have to be a very specific date since Jackson's job does not allow him such a long vacation. He hasn't even been working there for a year, so it's difficult for him to request so many days off. Not to mention the honeymoon that will have to live that one in our imagination. Anyways, much against our will, we ended up planning the party for the date of a holiday so that we could take advantage of the time off gap for it. The date was Thursday, but Friday was also declared a non-working day so we could take that long weekend and do our thing. But what happened is that when my sister commented on that, a certain Mr. Dad ended up saying that it could not be done on those dates. Well, why? Because it was the same date of my sister's promotion party. Yep, that's it. It's been about 2 months and the party hasn't happened. It's enough that the cake that was going to be made for her was green from mold. And precisely the day that I'm planning for my wedding, it's the exact same day that the party planned to replace my wedding will take place. Yep, my dad hates me. Plain and simple. I don't know what I did to him if I offended him about something when I was born, but he simply said to cancel my wedding so the family would not get conflicted about which celebration to go to. Excuse me. First, I wasn't going to invite much of the family anyways, and second, even if I did, who would prefer to go to a promotion party over a wedding? Any family member who prefers this scenario clearly does not deserve to be invited to my wedding in the first place. Yet my dad, with his altered perception of reality, says that I should cancel on my sister's behalf, even though she doesn't want the party herself. That's another aspect, that she doesn't even want the party. It's the foolishness of my father to show his perfect daughter to the whole world, and, well, now I'm going to tell you some things that have been going on in my head about a few topics. See, there are some mere speculations, but if it's true, this could give me an advantage on the matter. Are you ready? Let me put it into context. For a few years now, I've noticed something strange about Dad. He started dating several women after Mom passed, and all normal with that. However, he stopped dating as he used to about a decade ago when I was just out of high school and my sister was in college. There's one curious aspect to this, you see, and that's my Uncle Duncan, who's 9 years younger than my father. He got married about 12 years ago, and I remember that because Jackson accompanied me to the wedding, and it was one of our first memories together. To a very, very pretty woman, Aunt Vicky, a model, who's also 8 years younger than him. Anyways, the joke is that a couple of years later, they had a son, my little cousin Donnie, who's currently 10 years of age. See, Donnie is very cute and nice, but there's a very particular characteristic about him. And it's something that many in the family have noticed spot on as the years go by and the kids get a bit older. You may already know where this is heading, right? Donnie looks like my dad. Since he was a baby, they said he's identical to my father, and when he was born, and, while those kinds of coincidences are normal in families, right, there's another fact that goes along with it. Years ago, Dad was very attached to Uncle Duncan and Aunt Vicky, too attached to them, but at one point when Donnie was born, he gradually stopped treating them. And yes, it was parallel to when he stopped dating women. A lot of people started disparaging Father on networks for saying that he was gay or something, not having dated more women by then. But by a personal deduction, it felt there's something wrong with all this. Something quite tragic and shady, and I'll put it bluntly, I feel like Dad was having some sort of affair with Aunt Vicky, and out of that popped out Donnie. It's something that's been on my mind for many, many years now, but I've never decided to dig into it much since I considered it a taboo myself. Now I see it as something much, much, much more sensitive. But I guess you could say, in some ways, it may actually benefit me. If you're thinking what I think you're thinking, yes, I can have a good revenge using the information, but first, I would have to corroborate this because throwing assumptions in the air, well, that's not a very good idea. Something occurred to me. If I did some sort of DNA test and threw it at the party like I got to read someone else's story on the platform, That way, I could make father understand that his daughter would be willing to do anything to just see justice in this world. I don't know if I'm being too blunt, but I was to my sister about it, and she hinted that she had suspicions of her own. Now, everything seemed to be a little more connected. Update number 3, 1 week later. Oh boy, guys, how do I even explain this to them? Let's start by telling you that my sister and I came up with the perfect plan to get back at Dad. This required some sacrifices, but we knew that we could pull it off. You know, it would be worth all the trouble in the world if we did. I had to sacrifice my wedding, or at least postpone it until further notice, and I have no idea when it will be, but now I'm more concerned about other things. As we would rather my sister have her long-awaited party, we decided this because we found out another thing, why Dad was more interested in the particular party, and that is that he was the one who was going to serve as a host of the supposed gala, a word my sister hates with her life as it gives more value than necessary. Having some important people, at the disposal, and in fact, what Dad wanted was just to show off his daughter, something he could do in another celebration where his daughter and her husband were the ones who would receive the limelight and not him. It's amazing how far this man can go in his desire to be the absolute center of attention. Anyways, we let the celebration take place with several family members present at the event, including Uncle Duncan and Aunt Vicky. And I thank goodness little cousin Donnie stayed home with the babysitter, as I didn't want him to be present for what was about to happen. And that's when we decided to take control of the situation. The event was in a business hall, the biggest one in the whole town, which is also part of the journalist club. So it was known that there were going to be many important people who were present and interviewed by my father. Because, well, I don't know, neither my sister nor Jackson nor I understood why he was doing that. He was just talking into the microphone for a long time while the live cameras recorded everything, and then came the part where my sister would take the spotlight and speak in front of everyone. She was never the one to be on the spotlight, so she's always preferred to be the quiet type. Still, she gave her best performance and thanked everybody present for such a beautiful event. Especially to Dad, for without him, none of it would have been possible, and he got a lot of applause and walked around with a stupid grin on his face. Jackson had to hold my arm several times to keep me from exploding, and my sister also said she wanted to send a greeting and congratulations to her little sister on her engagement, and that's when I forgot about the plan for a second and ended up loving her more than ever. Despite everything, she had the time to mention me, even though that was also part of the plan. Well, guys, when I took the microphone, I knew my time had come. I would make my father look so bad in front of everyone, and I just would not know the extent of it just yet. I started off speaking normally, saying that I congratulated my sister on her promotion. All good, but then took a turn saying that I would have liked her and everyone present to have attended my wedding, but since Father said that the celebration was better here, it would then be for the next occasion, and this started to generate a little bit of murmurs. But it was no big deal. Even Dad laughs, but that was when I dropped the little bomb. Oh, and by the way, I also wanted to say hello to my Uncle Duncan. Where is he? Ah, there he is. I'm glad he can be with us and with Aunt Vicky, too. Too bad about the thing with little Donnie and my father for... Oh, guys, that was the moment I began to notice looks of confusion, then I went on with the play. Oh, sorry, I thought that you must have knew, because of all that stuff about the transfers to Aunt Vicky. My uncle caught up, and it just was instant. The thing that is, in my previous investigation, I had to talk to the one who was talking to Dad's finances. My sister. And she, having all of the accounts at her disposal, noticed how, for some years, my dad has been secretly, well, at least we consider it secretly, sending Aunt Vicky some extra dollars. Since, when? How strange, since Donnie's birth. I know you may ask why she didn't notice this pattern earlier. Well, she didn't notice it until I told her about my suspicions of Donnie being Dad's kid. Then she realized that the money that was going to my aunt was related to this, and not with somebody else like a business thing or something. Coming back to the party, though, it was complete chaos. What happened next was pure utter chaos, and my uncle gets up from his seat, walks over to where my father was, and said, "I knew it," and then proceeded to drop the biggest blow that we've ever seen in our lives, and from there, everything went into absolute insane mode. People started leaving the place, and others were trying to stop my uncle, who had no qualms about continuing to punch and kick my father onto the ground. I admit that I was only looking for confrontation and public humiliation, but this was a bit over the line. Guys, it looked like a dogfight. Only with one clear advantage. I remember seeing Aunt saying to me, "What did you do?" And I was a little embarrassed because I walked around with a nervous laugh the whole time. Dad's much older than his brother, and he's not in the best physical shape, you see. He's got quite a shock. If you're wondering how it all ended, well, that's a good question, and I would like to answer it, but I could not tell you since my sister, Jackson, another friend, and we left that place quick, leaving the burning conflict behind us. And I'm writing to you guys from my house, and I've not heard anything about it. I assume that's because of the seriousness of the injuries. My father had to be taken somewhere, and I also assume that we were the ones to be blamed for everything that happened. Yeah, I guess it's unfortunate, but it's perfect opportunities for his competition to take advantage of the affair and make him look bad. Although more than making him look bad, it would simply be showing him what he really is. Not just a bad father, but a bad brother. His true self, someone I guess you can't trust. Final update, 2 weeks later. Hello again, how's everybody doing? How have you been? For our part, the truth is that we have nothing to really complain about to anybody. Of course, not everything has been rosy, but at least we can be happy that our family problems are no longer a constant. We feel freer than ever, and after the fiasco that was my dad's party, things changed 180 degrees. On my Uncle Duncan's side, he divorced Vicky, citing irreconcilable differences, and no one could explain why he won't be in charge of child support. Crazy, isn't it? I wonder why that is. Well, Donnie was tested for paternity, and indeed it came back negative, and this was such a blow to Uncle Duncan, as he had truly grown to raise and love the little boys as if they were his own son. To be honest, I don't know how they talk to the little boy to explain the situation. I suppose they'll wait until he's older to tell him the truth, but for the time being, I suppose they will treat this as a run-of-the-mill divorce. He talked to us, thanking us for telling him, and although he scolded us a bit for doing it at a very unwise time, at least we can be at peace with him, as he now feels more liberated as well. So he told us Vicky wanted to take advantage of his brother when they first started dating, considering the money and power that he had, and well, I think it worked out for her because she got more money than she needed from both brothers. So she could afford all the luxuries that she wanted while raising Donnie, and as for the little boy, well, he hangs out with Vicky quite a bit. That's one of the most negative lakes there, and although it's not fair, it's the normal thing that happens in these situations. Am I right, guys? Well, as for my father, according to what the nurses tell me, and by the way, I have not had direct contact with him, they told me that he is soon to recover and be discharged. We gave them 1,000 excuses for not going to take care of him, and the part is almost tearful. There was no one to help him at the hospital, and our grandparents are very old. His daughters don't like him, and his brother is the reason why he's there. In other words, it's all bad. That's what you get after a lifetime of pretending to be self-righteous and lying to other people's faces. I feel he knows that, and from what he was able to discuss with his assistant, he was very ashamed and remorseful of many of his actions. The thing is that this is now having a negative repercussion in his professional life. Now the news, portals are making fun of him and the event, losing confidence in their subscribers, and it's normal for this to happen, but that does not take away the discomfort that he has. Mental and physical discomfort, and I know that is what it is. It would be less revenue for his agency, but we would rather the truth come out. Who would have thought we would end up applying the principle of journalism with our own father? We, on the other hand, Well, that's the positive part. We've talked about the wedding and we've already set a date for it. Sure, we have a responsible amount of time to organize it properly, and it won't be that big of an event, but at least we'll have the best guests. And speaking of guests, my sister will be the maid of honor. And, something we're very excited about. As bizarre as this sounds, she and I ended up becoming much closer after this experience. It's like we have a common enemy, and what better enemy than the one who raised us with endless rule? But now he's paying for everything he did, and we're going to organize a wedding that is even better than my dream wedding. Together, we're going to plan it big, and everyone will be invited. Except for a little person who's currently in the hospital. Or maybe I'll send him a letter inviting him only to tell him it was a fake. A phony. Maybe then he can understand what it's like to lie to your face. Jackson's father is the one walking me down the aisle, by the way, and we're all taking it as a very sweet gesture. At least I know I'm not alone in this. So this is an interesting comment section we found ourselves in today. A lot of people were saying that OP's dad did not deserve to be straight up abandoned by everyone that he's once loved. And he probably still does love them, but they left him cold and dry at the hospital, not going to check up on him, not going to see how he was doing, heck, if he was even alive. But there was some very strict commenters who were completely on the other side saying, no, this guy treated his daughter poorly, this guy cheated on his brother's wife, and had a baby with her. He deserved every bit of karma that came his way, and I just want to know what you guys think of it. Drop your comments down below. My name is Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories like this every single day. If you want to be a part of it, consider subscribing, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, and of course remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.